Today we will discuss something most known to a supply chain planner and the most used forecasting method. Right now, your forecast is running. Every planning cycle, every SKU included in it. And somewhere inside that calculation, there is a number called N that you have probably never looked at in a way you are going to look at after this episode. N is simply the number of past periods your forecast looks back at, nothing more, nothing less. So, good day, guys. Welcome to episode 5 of the Intelligence Layer. Today, we decode moving average, which controls how many historical periods your moving average forecast uses to predict the future. If it was set during system configuration, possibly years ago, possibly by someone no longer in the organization, and it has almost certainly never been reviewed, please pay close attention. This will surely be useful for you to make a big impact on your planning. Across every current planning cycle, that single value is determining whether your forecast chases recent demand or smooths it, whether it catches genuine demand shifts quickly or smooths them away, whether it amplifies noise or filters it, all without anyone having consciously decided that it is what it should do. This episode decodes what N actually controls, how to diagnose whether yours is right for each product, and what happens when it is wrong. So, one configuration value fixed at implementation, which is compounding quietly across every planning cycle since, has to be challenged today. Moving average is elegant in its simplicity because you take the last n periods of actual demand, average them, use the result as your forecast for the next period. It is transparent, explainable, and easy to defend to any stakeholder. But the decision embedded in that formula, the one that determines everything, is N. And it creates a genuine trade off that most organizations have never consciously made. A small value makes the model highly reactive. The most recent periods dominate the output. Genuine shifts get captured fast, but so does every unusual event that has, nothing to do with the forecasting. That was never a real change. The forecast starts responding to things that should be ignored. A large value produces a stable model. Month to month variation gets absorbed, but the cost is if your market genuinely shifted 6 months ago, the forecast is still partly built on the old reality. By the time it adjusts, you have been systematically wrong for half a year. The most common N value in practice is 6. Nobody chose it consciously. It was a system default, and it is probably wrong for most of the products it is applied to. Too reactive for stable products, too slow for volatile ones. So the trade-off N forces is between catching real changes and ignoring fake ones. Every product sits differently on that spectrum. N must match the product, not the system default. Before we go into the business logic, take a look at where this method came from. 100 years of use, born in financial analysis, adopted by manufacturing planners in the post-war industrial expansion. The logic was compelling. Take recent actual demand, average it, forecast from it. No proprietary data, no complex mathematics. Any manager could understand and challenge it. 100 years later, it remains the dominant baseline method in planning systems across every major ERP platform. And the persistent failure is the same as it was in 1950. N is set once and never reviewed. The approach is sound. What fails is the discipline around the parameter that drives it. That failure is where the cost accumulates. And the future stakes just change because every AI planning tool entering the market learns from your historical data and your existing parameter settings. If N was wrong for 3 years, the AI trains on 3 years of systematically biased forecast. Mastering the parameter behind a simple method is not outdated knowledge. It is a prerequisite for evaluating every complex system that claims to supersede it. So moving average, kind of survived for 100 years, not because it was sophisticated, because it is honest about what it does. The teams failing with it are not failing at the method, they are failing at the parameter. So there is a belief, particularly common among teams that have invested heavily in advanced planning platforms, that choosing a simple method reflects immature planning capability. The tool has more advanced options. Surely using them produces better forecast. Not if the product is stable, low variability SKU. On that product, moving average is not a compromise, it is the correct model. Any stakeholder can understand and challenge the output. When it goes wrong, the error is visible and the cause is diagnosable. And it performs as well as or better than more complex models in SKUs that lack the demand complexity those models were designed for. The dangerous version of this myth is when teams apply machine learning to stable, slow moving products. The result is a sophisticated model that is confidently wrong in ways that are much harder to diagnose. The error is buried inside a black box instead of sitting transparently in a three number average. So it's like using rocket to cross a road. Applying complexity to simplicity does not produce better forecasts. It produces forecasts that are harder to question and slower to correct. So 3 years, that is the duration a misset parameter ran unchecked on a seasonal portfolio before someone asked the right question. The demand followed a distinct quarterly cycle. The N was set to 6, meaning at any point the model was averaging across two full seasons. It was treating the seasonal peak and the trough as noise to be removed, not a pattern to be respected or replaced with. The system was actively working against the most important feature of the demand signal. And the consequence, every peak season systematic underforecast, not by chance, by design. Every off season systematic overforecast. 3 consecutive years of building too little inventory before the peak and too much after it. Not because the method was wrong, because one parameter was wrong and nobody owned the question of whether it was right. The correction took one afternoon, the parameter was aligned to the actual demand cycle. Accuracy improved measurably in the following quarter. Multi year directional error closed in one working session because one question was finally put on someone's agenda, which kind of 3 years of systematic error took only one afternoon to fix. The question was never asked because nobody was responsible for asking it. So let us now take three industries, three different ways wrong N creates a specific recurring failure. In pharma, the right N for an established generic is long. Demand for mature medicines changes gradually, as you know, like the demographic shifts or treatment guidelines change or competitive entries. They are kind of gradual changes measured in months and years, not weeks. A long N filters the monthly noise from hospital ordering patterns, stocking fluctuations, and reporting variations, and gives you the stable underlying demand that actually drives procurement. But apply that same parameter to a product in its launch year, and you are averaging away the growth signal that tells you whether the product is gaining adoption. So you need to see that growth curve clearly because a short and perhaps 3 period gives you the responsiveness the launch situation requires. Same product category, completely different N. When we talk about fashion, in season replenishment requires a completely different parameter logic. During the active season, the most valuable information is the most recent week of sell through, not what happened in a prior season 6 months ago. And N of 2 or 3 gives you that proximity. Most fashion planning teams configure the parameter before the season opens and leave it fixed throughout. The sell through data generated in the mid season window, the rich data, the most valuable demand signal in the entire business, is being partly averaged away by an N calibrated for pre season uncertainty. The in season signal is being treated with the same caution as pre season guesswork. In FMCG, the discipline is keeping promotional periods outside the base demand calculation. When promoted periods are included in the base calculation, the underlying forecast is permanently elevated. Every non promoted week, the baseline is elevated above actual underlying demand because the calculation still contains promotional spikes in its average. So here what you have to do is exclude promoted weeks from your moving average for base demand. Run a completely separate model for promotional uplifts. They are kind of different demand phenomena requiring different approaches. Mixing kind of them produces a number that is wrong for both purposes. So now you see one parameter, three industries, three completely different correct answers, because the right value always depends on the specific demand reality of the specific product in that market. So let us take a real example of capital equipment manufacturer who was attending a global industry exhibition. 2 years of product development behind one launch window. The planning system was running n equal to 12, but this was a new product. Pre-launch, 12 months of zeros feeding the average. The model had nothing to work with except absence. Exhibition cargo, as you know, is the most unforgiving demand environment in supply chain. One floor, one window, buyers physically present. That window does not open twice. The model said modest demand, procurement built modest stock. But what happened is day 2 demonstration units were gone and spare components gone on day 3. The inquiry pipeline was real, the stock was not there. The root cause was not logistics here, not the sales forecast. It was configured for a mature product catalog, applied unchanged to a product that had never sold a single unit in its life. N is not just wrong for stable products that change, it is lethal for products that have no history at all. New launches need different parameter logic or no moving average at all. For a new product with no history, classify it by expected value, use an analogous SKU as a demand proxy, and set stock based on strategic intent, not on a moving average of zeros. So what happened? 2 years of development, one exhibition window, one parameter set wrong. Moving average cannot forecast what has never existed. The question nobody asked cost more than the stock out. So different perspective. N is not a technical setting, it is a business decision. The N you chose expresses your belief about how quickly demand genuinely changes for a specific product. A short N says you believe demand shifts quickly and you need to stay close to it. A long N says you believe demand is stable and the model should trust the pattern more than any single recent period. Neither belief is universally correct. Both are correct for specific products in specific market conditions. And the product's situation changes. A new competitor, a promotional strategy shift, a market disruption, all of these change with, telling you which N is right, which means N must be reviewed when those changes happen. Now we talk about the relationship to replenishment. Lead time matters, it matters very specifically. A very short parameter combined with a long delivery cycle is not logical. It means the forecast is reacting to demand signals that predate your ability to respond to them. The forecast is reactive to signals that predate your ability to act on them. Ownership means a specific person, not the system, not the process documentation, is responsible for reviewing the parameter on a defined schedule and updating it when the demand environment shifts. Without accountability, it remains at the implementation value indefinitely. That is the source of multi-year directional bias in planning outputs. So assign N, own N, review N. Those three verbs are worth more to your forecast accuracy than any model upgrade you will ever implement. Forecast speed must match the supply chain speed. Now let's see what's happening in the real world. I'll give you three signals of the current environment. You can go and look out online. So every new automated planning platform being deployed learns from historical patterns and inherits whatever configuration already existed. If N has been wrong for 3 years, the AI trains on 3 years of systematically biased demand history. A misset parameter at scale, automated at speed, produces confident wrong forecast across your entire portfolio simultaneously. Before evaluating any AI forecasting tool, audit and correct your N, current N values first. Supply chain disruptions, geopolitical fragmentation, and accelerating promotional activities have permanently elevated demand variability across most product categories. Keep that in mind. N values calibrated for the stable 2018 and 2019 demand environment are almost certainly too long for the volatility of 2026 markets. If N was set before 2021 and has not been reviewed, it is working against you. So work on changing it. So the ERP migrations and planning system upgrades are running at high rates globally. N values are being set during these implementations by consultants and system integrators, often using vendor defaults rather than product specific analysis. Check on that. Those defaults get locked in and forgotten. For any organization that has gone through a platform migration or ERP upgrade in the past 3 years, when was the parameter last examined after you went live? Has to be checked. The consequences of a poorly calibrated parameter have never been greater. Automation scales it, market conditions expose it, and platform migration cements it. So look at your N very closely now. So this week, find your N value, locate the configuration settings in your planning tool, find what value is active for your 10 highest priority products. If nobody can tell you, that is itself the answer. Next episode, we come with exponential smoothing in alpha, the parameter that controls how heavily your model weights recent periods against older ones. So apply N on your portfolio. Like I said, N is not a technical setting, it is a business decision. Assign it, own it, review it. This is SCM Decoded for you, the global supply chain community with real operations, deep theory decoded. Subscribe to it, guys. New episode every week, and with bonus episodes giving you real supply chain. Thank you.